So thank you very much, Alex, for that nice welcome. Thank you, everyone. Nice to be here. Just to, spin off of what we just heard from Hunter, it's very true. Pre-construction is, and from hearing a lot of you speak earlier today about why you're here and what you're looking to achieve, investing or growing your capital or looking to become more involved in real estate. Pre-construction is a really good method to grow your capital, to get into the market. Exactly what he said earlier, there's going to be a lot of repetition. You're buying a property at the earliest stage, so you're getting it at today's price. But 3 years from now, and on average, market goes up. Even though there's dips. 2008, there was a dip, big one, right? 30%. Ooh, a lot of people bought then. And the market went up and up and up. Until 2017, April 2017, I don't know if anyone remembers that. It was another dip. They introduced foreign buyers tax, NRST, that type of stuff. Also went down, a couple months. But the market kept going up and up and up. When you buy pre-construction, that's the beauty. You're buying it at its lowest, at its current rate, which is the lowest. My parents, when they came to Canada in the 60s and 70s, they saved up and they bought their first house. It was still in Toronto, like a Yonge and Sheppard area. They paid $22,000 for that house, okay? Pre-construction, right? $22,000. That same plot of land, that house today, it was a back split. I think it was 45 or 50 foot by 130 or 140 lots, okay, which is big. It's very big for Toronto. Okay, that house is over $2.5 million today. So, was it a good deal? Yeah, I would say it was a good deal. There's a saying in real estate, and we as real estate lawyers, we hear it a lot from our real estate agents, our mortgage agents, our mortgage brokers, real estate brokers. You marry the purchase, you date the rate. Have you heard of that? It's very true with real estate and with pre-construction, right? You're buying something, right? You're marrying it, okay? And the rates are high now, but if you have the courage to buy it now when no one else is, because everyone's scared of the rates, you're getting your own, whatever you're choosing, you're getting the prime, positioning in that condo that overlooks the Toronto Island Airport, right? You're getting that perfect unit because no one else is buying it. Get it? So you marry the purchase, date the rate. The rates will go up and down, but in 3 years, 4 years from now, that value, that condo that you bought, went up significantly, double the price. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we see in our line of work a lot when we work with agents and other brokers, etc. Assignments, which Steph will go into in a little bit, that's really, if you really want to make money, and you're not looking to live in the condo necessarily, or the property, or the pre-construction home, but you're looking to flip it. That's what everyone wants to do. I want to buy it, sell it, make some money, make some profit. Well, that's the best time. We have clients who that's all they do. That's all they do. That's their job. They buy pre-construction and then they sell it. But they come to us. They see the property. They just saw Hunter. They say, oh, I love that condo at Oakville. I really want it. Avi, it's $750,000. I have 10-day cooling off period, right? You just signed. You have 10 days to bring it to your lawyer. So all our clients come to us and say, hey, Steph, read this. What do you think? I want it. And our question is, well, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to live in it? You want to rent it out? Or you want to sell it? Most of the time they say, I want to sell it. I want to make, and 3 years from now or 2 years from now, it's going to be worth $1.5 million. I want to make that money. So we say, no problem. Perfect. We read the contract, we go through it, and we say, hey, if you want to do that, the best thing to do is get an assignment. Now the builder, listen, they're there to sell, right? The real estate agent's there to sell the property. You're there to buy, or you're there to sell it to your client, right? But the savvy ones are going to ask their client, well, what do you want to do with that piece of real estate? And if they say, I want to sell it, then you say, well, hang on. Speak to Stefan, call Alan, call Abraham, speak to Amanda, and that's another lawyer, office, and they'll read the contract and see if there's an assignment. And an assignment is a really great little terminology that's in these contracts that says that if I buy this condo, Steph's the builder. This is a little bit of acting here. Steph's the builder, I'm the purchaser. I buy the condo from him. I have 10-day cooling off. I take it to Alan, my lawyer. He reads through it. I tell him that I want to sell this condo. He says, well, let's make sure there's an assignment clause in it, because try to sell it before you take possession, because if you take possession, there's tax consequences, right? We don't like tax. Nobody who lives in Toronto likes tax. HST is, we don't want to pay a lot of tax. So it'd be great if I had in that agreement an assignment clause that lets me, right before the construction is complete, go to one of the great agents at Right at Home and say, hey, find me a buyer, right? Put this, Alex, you have a great network, or you have a great network, find me a buyer to buy this property. So you say, no problem, and you bought it at 3 or 4 or 500,000, right? And he puts it up, it's about to close, come and get it. Come and get it. We'll give you a break on the price. And boom, now you sold that property, you never even moved in. You never even really took possession. Now the transaction flows from the seller through you to the end user. And what do you get? You get the money. How great is that? So assignments are really good, but there's things you need to look for. And that's when you make sure you have to have competent counsel. There's a lot of great lawyers in Toronto. I could stand here and say we're like...
But you're the top.
Yeah. Pardon the pun. But we're always, clients are always picky. The savvy client will do their due diligence. They'll make sure that you're the right agent for them, right? Because you'll do your due diligence on the property that they're looking for. Same with us. They come to us because we do our due diligence for that client, right? Other lawyers, let's say there may be lawyers out there that do multiple areas. They do tax, real estate, municipal, family law, this, that. We like to focus on just the real estate. We do have other lawyers in our practice that do other areas, but if you're coming to myself, Stefan, Amanda, Renard, we're focusing on that real estate, nothing else. So without further ado, I know I took up a lot of your time. I'll let the floor go to to Steph, and Steph will take over and explain a little bit more about assignments.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let me just go to the slide here.
Oh, and I'll get around this.
A little bit more, thank you, Abby.
No problem.
Just a little bit more into talking about how to make sure that we make sure the assignment goes smoothly. So I put a couple bullet points that will just go into a little bit more detail. First and foremost, in the standard builder agreement, which each agreement will be different slightly, in the vast majority of them, they'll say that if you want an assignment, you'll need the builder's consent.
Yep.
Without the consent, we can't go through with the assignment. So usually the original purchaser will eventually seek the consent from the builder, which they'll have to get in writing, and they'll have to get enter into a separate agreement for that. Second point, assignment fee. In the vast majority of deals that we've dealt with in the past 2 or 3 years, there's always an assignment fee. From usually, very rarely they'll be free. If they do, it's usually to add a spouse, a significant other, or a family member to the title of the property. However, if you're doing it to a third party, there's usually going to be a fee anywhere from $1,000. I've seen up to $5,000, and even in the extreme cases, $10,000, which is important to know because, like I said, with every deal, you want to know the numbers. The numbers, at the end of the day, have to make sense. The third point, marketing restrictions. As some of the agents here know, in the APS, the Agreement of Purchase and Sale with the developer, it'll have restrictions on marketing, such as MLS, any internet platform, Facebook, Kijiji. The concern is if you market it without the builder consent, the buyer, the original buyer, is technically at default and can face significant repercussions with the Agreement of Purchase and Sale and potentially lose out on their agreement and forfeit their deposit. So like I said, just what Avi said I should say earlier, it's really important to make sure to seek the professional advice and say, Avi, can you look at my agreement? What are the restrictions? How do we make sure that we're in line with anything and avoid default and make sure this transaction is as smooth as possible? The last point sort of goes with the third point, no showings of the property. How do we show a property when it's not even built? Very difficult, however, not impossible. Looking at the plans, looking at the finishes, there's always ways to make sure that we have an idea of what the property is going to look like. There will be minimal changes, but then again, there's going to be constant communication with the builder. There's going to be, especially with interim occupancy, and you also can look at the property as well beforehand. And you'll have a pre-delivery inspection of the property and be able to outline any changes or any issues with the property that need to be completed prior to the final closing. So, we sort of talk about this, but I want to sort of highlight sort of the process of how it goes. The original buyer will purchase the property from the developer directly. From there, they'll finalize it by signing the agreement of purchase and sale that the developer's lawyers have prepared. As Ivy mentioned, with every new build purchase, there's a 10-day cooling down period. And you really want to make sure to give that agreement to your lawyer right away so that they have enough time to also get a response from the developer's lawyer. One thing you want to make sure about that, as was mentioned earlier, you want to discuss assignment possibility, you want to see if you get a cap for development charges, and if there are any other things that you want to make sure that your lawyer outlines that in their letter to the developer's lawyer and get a response within that 10-day period. From there, once everything's finalized with the agreement, you'll see, or maybe your realtor will talk to you, or maybe it'll be the idea that you have, there might be interest in the property. I may want to sign it, maybe I bought it for $300,000, but maybe Ivy wants to buy it off me for $500,000. So that's where we get to see, and that's where the initial potential assignment sale comes into effect. From there, the original buyer, and or referred to the second buyer, will enter into an assignment agreement of purchase and sale. From there, it is very important. I can't stress it enough how important it is to have a clause to have it under solicitor review. It's important to make sure to get that legal advice, to make sure everything's black and white, and most importantly, that you or your client's interests are protected at the end of the day. As I mentioned, so a lot of this I'll be repeating as well. First and foremost, protect the interest of the client. Whether you're the seller or the purchaser, you want to make sure that you understand all your rights and obligations and that your interests are protected. From there, one of the other things that's also important, especially if you're acting for this second buyer, is to understand your post-closing obligations. I bought it from Avi, or Avi bought it from me. What are my post-closing obligations? What are my timelines? What is important? How can I prepare myself to ensure a smooth closing? And that's where it really comes down to talking to your real estate agent, talking to your lawyer, and establishing that timeline to make sure you can get financing in place and any additional funds that you have to pay on closing is secured, and you make sure you have enough time to save up to however much you need to pay off. Also to take into consideration is any HST implications. So as of May 7th, 2022, all profits on assignments are subject to HST, which the original buyer will be responsible for. In terms of deposits, to exempt the deposit from HST, the deposits, as it says here, must be included in the assignment agreement. So in short, the writing must clearly state that the assignment price already includes the deposit so that no HST, so the HST is exempted from there. HST on the original agreement. So the second buyer will have to pay the HST on the entire amount on purchase. So it's very important to stress to the client, because usually, as an original buyer, it'll say that the HST is included in the purchase price. However, on assignment, the second buyer will be responsible for that HST.
I'm sorry, just to build off what Stefan's saying. So just to be clear, you are, because the price is now increased, right? You realize that. You purchased the condo that we spoke about, you purchased it for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But now, that was 3 years ago. Now you're selling that condo for $600,000. So there's an increase. So you got to pay the HST on the increase, but now the price has changed for the end purchaser. So that has to affect the HST. You understand? Okay.
And to go off on that point, next, is land transfer tax. On what price it is originally. If I bought the property for $1 million, but on the assignment, their second buyer is buying it for $1.5 million, on which purchase price do we pay the land transfer tax?
That's right.
Unfortunately, for the second buyer, they're gonna have to pay the land transfer tax on the increased price and not the original price that was entered into in the original agreement.
As they would do on a resale.
Exactly.
Exactly.
A lot of times purchasers get confused. The end user who's buying the assignment from you gets confused because they're thinking, and I don't want to take away from you, gets confused because they're thinking, well, wait a second, Stefan, you bought it originally for $300. Shouldn't I pay the land transfer tax on the $300? No, it's whatever the final sale price is. You bought a car, you bought the Ferrari for $1 million, but you're selling it to him now for $1.5 million. He has to pay it on the $1.5 million, right? Okay.
Thank you. And that sort of just goes into our closing remarks. So we looked at purchase price, we've looked at HST, we've looked at land transfer tax, and we've looked at sort of the overall structure of how an assignment sale looks like. With all these considerations in mind, it's, as you can tell, it's not as simple as your usual transaction. Far from it. Which is why it's really important to speak to professionals, to pick their brain and sort of maybe put everything into layman terms. And like I said, there's always call your lawyer. Always call your lawyer. They're going to be there to help you because it's a very difficult process and we want to make it as smoothly as possible. And that's why at our firm we want to make sure that our clients call us right away. So we'll send email blasts to everybody saying, hey, if you bought an assignment, give us a call. Let's make sure everything is done accordingly and within the quick timelines, because the 10-day period, even for the lawyer review, goes by fairly quickly, and those 10 days are crucial to make sure that everything is in line for the final closing. With that in mind, we want to thank you for coming, everybody. We appreciate it. It's really good to see everyone here. The one thing we want to do before we complete our speech, is does anybody have any questions about assignments? Yes, sir.
Not assignment, existing condo. You want to change the name for your family member. How was that?
So you bought a pre-construction.
No, I already closed it.
You closed it. So
Yeah.
now you own the house. Okay, so now we're talking. It's a different topic than assignments, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
We're not charging you for the time. Don't worry about it. You bought it. You own your condo. You want to transfer it now
You want daughter.
to your daughter's
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
No problem. We can do a transfer. It's very easy to do a transfer of title. It's not a big deal. Is there a mortgage on the property?
No,
So it's free and clear of a mortgage.
yeah.
Perfect. That's the best situation. I wish I was your daughter. But yeah, that's a very simple process. Just contact our office. We do just a transfer of title. It's easy peasy.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I know no tax,
When there's no mortgage, yeah, there won't be. So usually land transfer tax is based off of a mortgage amount. So I think it's just going to be minimal.
It would be as a
Right.
gift. It would be registered
Yeah,
as a
registered
gift.
as a gift,
So because
yeah.
it's free and clear, there wouldn't be any
Yeah.
applicable land transfer tax. However, if there was a mortgage or multiple mortgages, the transaction would look a little bit different.
Yeah, it'd be subject to that. But that's why I asked if you had a mortgage. So.
no, I mean no capital gain.
So that's something you should really speak to your accountant. That capital. So a lot of lawyers will want to comment on capital gains. They shouldn't. The capital gains, you have to understand, it's attributed to your income, how much you make, how much you declare. So it's different for everybody. So that's something. If you don't have a really good accountant, we have the best accounting firm that we work with that does a lot of our pre-construction stuff with our clients as well. We can put you in touch with them, and they can sit down with you, go through your numbers, and see how much you would pay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Any pre-construction questions, anyone?
Yeah, assignment stuff is really, pre-construction assignment stuff it's a little tricky. We love it. When you go to, a lot of the agents here, when you go to show properties or you bring something to your clients and you say, oh, there's this pre-construction that's happening here, happening there, and you want to get them involved in it. We do a lot of, we'll go to a lot of the open events for the new launches. So we're there because a lot of the agents will have questions. And a lot of the questions will be about assignments because clients want to buy to sell. So when that happens, yeah, pick up the phone, give us a call. We answer the phones, believe it or not, we do answer the phones. And we're always here to answer questions. Any questions? I saw you have a question.
What's the benefit of buying on assignment versus say a resale? And I guess where do you find these assignment opportunity sales? if you wanna buy.
So that's a great question. I'll answer the second part if you want to answer the first part, but the second part is, not a lot, some builders will say, hey, we offer assignments. And for assignments, we're gonna charge you an extra amount. Like on a house, for example, they'll say, we want $30,000 to do an assignment, or $20,000 to do an assignment for you, and we'll put a condition in. And, but some builders won't advertise it. They won't tell you. So that's where being savvy, doing your due diligence, coming to a really competent lawyer and saying, hey, Steph, this is what I want to do with this property. Like a good lawyer will ask you, what do you want to do? Do you want to live in it? Do you want to give it to your daughter? Do you want to rent it out? Do you want to make it a multiplex where people can live in it, right? Great app that's coming out, you have 6 people living in it. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to just sell it? And ideally, selling it before you take possession is the best. So once we know those answers, we'll look through the agreement and we'll say, hey, by the way, there's no assignment here. It's not a bad idea if we, as your lawyers, contact the builder and say, hello, Madame E. Homes, hello, Oak Ridges, hello, whoever it is. We send them a letter. We want to include an assignment condition. And this is what we want the assignment. I want to be in control. You can see I'm an alpha. I want to have control. I want to tell them what I want. Let them say no. Let them say no. Fine, you said no. What don't you like about it? And then we go back and forth. And we fight to get you the best condition. That, like Stefan said in this presentation, we want to get the best condition for you, the one that allows you to advertise, because some of them don't want you to.
That's right.
We want to get you something that says that there's not going to be any issues with transferring, with whatever. We want to make sure that that condition is better for you than it is for them.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know if that's a long answer to a short question. Sorry.
And just to build on what Avi is mentioning, where you find assignments, you will notice, as he said, that the vast majority of development projects, they do not want an assignment market to be publicly available.
No.
So it's only via a realtor that you'll be able to find that. There are specific groups that realtors like myself and the other realtors in the room are part of, or where any realtor who has an assignment that they're trying to find a buyer for, they are legally required to make sure that this is only shared with realtors, not with the general public, or else they could get sued by the developer who doesn't want this to be public. Therefore, if you find a competent realtor and you're telling them, I want to look for assignment, purchase opportunities, these are my parameters, they will be able to help you really find the right opportunities. So it's a little bit of a closed market. There are a few assignments that you do see because there are competent lawyers who worked on that and allowed it, but it's actually the exception rather than the rule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, they'll say, like, one of the big conditions that Stefan mentioned is like advertising. They don't want you to advertise because the fear is first they want to sell out all their units, right? They want to sell out everything. Once everything is sold, that's fine. But they also don't want everyone assigning because then, oh, you're selling for $1 million? Oh, you got to sell for $999, $900, and then the prices, everyone's battling. They don't want that either, right? So you have to be strategic. You have to have good realtors, right? Right realtors, you like that? The right realtors that are right at home. And you have to have good counsel. And once you have those two together, you can really strong arm you.
I have a good lawyer.
And have a top lawyer.
And just
You
to
got
build
it.
up what Alex was saying too, I feel like I just pulled out a Facebook group that is, all the realtors are a part of, bunch of assignments that are just like real life examples. Some are in Hamilton, some are here in Toronto, Vaughan.
That's right.
So yeah.
Sorry,
Awesome.
you were going to say something.
Your first question is why would you buy? Now there's numerous reasons as to why you want to buy. But that would be a question that I would want to ask you. Do you see this as an investment home? Do you see yourself living here? And I would ask you what your intentions and goals are, so that way we could better understand as to why you're entering into the agreement. That'd be probably one of our first questions that we'd want to ask to see why you're entering. The big question, why?
Yeah.
Is it for family? Do you see it as an investment? Is it long term? So that's one of the questions we'd ask our clients, and we want to better understand their situations and why they entered that agreement.
If your counsel on your pre-construction is not asking you these questions, is just saying, I reviewed it, it's fine, here, pay me for my review, I'm not looking at that lawyer then. You know what I mean? They need to ask you the right questions. They need to spend time with you, because the reality is we want to be your lawyer on this transaction, but we also want to be your lawyer when you sell it. We want to be your lawyer on the next transaction. We want to be your lawyers going forward, 20, 30, 50 years down the line. So like when you transfer your property to your daughter, I want to be your lawyer because I know when she goes to sell that property and buy another one, I want to be her lawyer. Get it?
Exactly, yeah.
All right.
Abby, there's one last question.
Sorry,
To the
go
gentleman
ahead.
in the back.
Hi.
I hired Top Law Firm a couple of years ago. He did a great job for me.
Oh,
It
good.
was a resale,
Oh.
no sale. So how much do you charge for the pre-construction consult before it goes firm, and then charge for the closing?
Right to it, eh? He gets right to it. Well, repeating client, I have to give you a good deal. So yeah, we give benefits to repeat clients actually, and with reviews, depending on who the builder is and how in detail the review is, and if we're doing the closing, sometimes in certain conditions we'll even waive the fee on the review. So on certain reviews, we'll say, hey, you know what? There's no charge as long as you're committed to closing with us, right? And you retain us to do your final closing. Look, there's the good and bad there. You're getting us to review your document. You're not paying a nickel. And then 3 years from now, though, you have to close with us, though. So we can either apply credit, or there's many ways we can do it. We do it with different builders and different transactions.
Awesome. Thank you
So,
so
yeah,
much.
Thanks for coming back.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.